even though Western Hasbara immediately was like, oh, Palestinians and Hamas in the West Bank are actually causing wildfires. That's why Israel's on fire. To the person who was like watching from the outside, they... All right. Anyway, let's continue. Israel expands demolitions of West Bank refugee homes.
Now, one of the largest Palestinian refugee camps in the occupied West Bank has become unclean. Thousands of Palestinians have been displaced and hundreds of homes have been demolished since Israel launched a military campaign in January. That's according to the UN, which says that the situation is unprecedented. Israel says it wants to dismantle what it calls terror strongholds in the camps. The BBC has followed the story of one man who was forced out of the camp and whose home was identified.
The next person that tries to poop while I'm talking about real shit now, I'm going to perma.
Identified for demolition by the IDF. Emir Nada has more.
It's been 3 months since Jamal was forced out of his home. He's one of thousands of Palestinians from Jenin refugee camp in the West Bank who don't know when or if the Israeli military will let them return.
There is my house.
The house is less than a kilometer away, but Jamal has only been allowed one brief visit.
My house was standing when I last saw it. I went to bring my UN aid card.
Now he has no idea how much of his home remains.
I can see so much destruction and damage in the camp. A lot of destruction and demolition.
In the West Bank, refugee camps home to Palestinians displaced from Israel have become the base of militias who say they're fighting Israeli occupation. Israel calls them, and in January stepped up its campaign against them, entering the camps and forcing out residents before beginning a wave of building demolitions. While filming, we see Palestinian municipal workers attempting to clear a route to a hospital. They're detained, then denied entry to the blockaded camp.
There are big challenges in terms of providing services to citizens. As everyone knows, the infrastructure in Jenin camp has been totally demolished. Israel's goal is to try to make Jenin camp totally unfit to live in. And I am telling you, it has now become completely unlivable.
Israel says the demolitions are necessary for its counter-terrorism operations, improving military movement through the camps, but doesn't confirm which buildings it's destroyed. In March, Israel issued a map of over 90 buildings it said it would demolish in Jenin camp. Jumar's appeared to be among them. Using satellite imagery, we've identified that at least 33 of those buildings have been destroyed, including Jumar's. The UN says it estimates that Israel has demolished 200 buildings, housing 600 apartments in Jenin camp alone. Now living in temporary accommodation, Jumar is indignant about losing his home.
Why did they demolish my house? I want to know. I want the Israeli army to give me justification. I had no links to militants. I am a peaceful person.
Jumar, like thousands of other Palestinians in the West Bank, now doesn't know where he will live next, without compensation and with few of his life's belongings, besides the family pet.
I need to make something clear. Even if he was a militant in Jenin, Israel would have no right to demolish his home. Israel has no right, without the authorization of Palestinians, to even operate in that area. Just so you understand. You're my favorite terrorism apologist. Brother, I have never apologized for the terror that Israel has committed, okay? Israel is the real terrorist here. Israel is the ISIS equivalent in this conversation. So you need to find a new guy.
This is Assad al-Nasasra, his relief clear to see as he's reunited with his family. The Palestinian paramedic embracing his father after surviving an attack that saw 15 fellow emergency workers killed. His children also desperately relieved to see him alive after 5 weeks in Israeli detention. He was one of just 2 survivors, but he has...
Oh yeah, Israel detained him, by the way. Yeah, one of the paramedics that didn't get assassinated on the spot was detained.
Hasn't spoken publicly yet, and mystery still surrounds what actually happened to him. There are multiple questions which the IDF still has to answer. Why was Assad arrested in the first place? Why was he held for so long? And what happened to him during that time? But clues are beginning to emerge, including new audio we've exclusively obtained, which documents a call that Assad made to the Red Crescent dispatch centre during the attack. It adds to the body of visual and audio evidence that we're collating to find out exactly what happened that morning. Assad was driving in an ambulance with his colleague Rifat Radwan, who filmed this video on the morning of March 23rd. They'd been dispatched to find their colleagues who'd gone missing after an earlier Israeli attack. You can hear his voice as he spots the missing emergency vehicle. The timeline we've pieced together shows the attack begins at 5:08 a.m. and gunfire can be heard for more than 5 minutes. We've obtained a recording of a call that Assad made to the Red Crescent dispatch centre at 6:55 a.m. At this point, it's clear Assad is being held by the Israelis. We can hear their voices discussing the prisoners and shouting at them. 2 minutes into the audio, we can hear a more senior figure addressing soldiers by name. It's clear there's a chain of command here. And in earshot of the prisoners, the soldiers are being given their orders. A military expert familiar with the IDF told us that this sounded like a formal command by a superior, and the word battery was referring to a firing position occupied by soldiers. In our interview with the only other survivor, the Red Crescent medic Munza Abed, he describes his arrest alongside Assad.
الوحيد اللي شفته أسعد النصاص يعني كان جاي مع الضابط واعتقله وحطه جنبي. أسعد آخر لحظة شفته فيها كانوا مغميين عينيه ومقعدينه ومربطين إيديه من ورا طبعا.
After an internal IDF investigation, the deputy commander of the IDF unit which carried out the shootings was dismissed, and another was reprimanded. No charges have been brought against anyone involved. Now he's been released, there are multiple questions about Assad's detention to add to the growing disquiet about the IDF's conduct. First, what were the IDF grounds for suspicion about the...
Understand that Israel offered less repercussions to the fucking dude who, the workers, the medical workers, than the medical workers who actually survived the assassination. The guy who killed, the guy who commanded his brigade to kill the medical workers, execution style, got no prison time for a clear cut that they recognize was the people that survived the shooting actually were apprehended and detained. It's insane.
The paramedic. What happened to Assad during his 5 weeks of detention, and why was he held for so long without charge? Our investigations are still ongoing to get to the whole truth of one of the bloodiest Israeli attacks ever against paramedics in Gaza.
It was a welcome party of sorts.
This is the New York Times visual investigation report on it.
It's almost 5 a.m. on March 23rd in Rafah, southern Gaza. 2 Red Crescent medics are out searching for a missing ambulance crew. Driving is Assad al-Nasasra, and sitting beside him and filming is Rifat Radwan. Both have worked with the Red Crescent for years. Rifat worries their missing colleagues have come under attack. They haven't heard from them for an hour. They will soon discover that Israeli soldiers have 2 of them. Before long, Rifat will also be killed, along with 12 other staff from the Red Crescent, Civil Defence and the United Nations. The New York Times obtained Rafat's footage and reconstructed, moment by moment, how this unprovoked attack unfolded. We synchronized his video with another phone recording from the scene. We reviewed autopsy reports and photos of the bodies, and we interviewed eyewitnesses. Our investigation shows how Israeli soldiers fired repeatedly on unarmed medics, closed in around them, and continued shooting for more than 6 minutes, even as several of the crew were still alive, wearing their uniforms and praying. Investigating itself, the IDF has said there were professional failures and dismissed a deputy commander who was involved. Independent experts say that to knowingly attack medics is a breach of the laws of war.
So when they then directly fire on them, they are committing.
I see a lot of people in the chat saying, why did they leave some alive or detain them, even after they buried all the bodies and the ambulances? And the reason for why is because this is not the first nor the last time Israel will actively kill paramedics. They've been doing this. They've done this hundreds of times already. And the only reason why we know about it, or the only reason why this became a controversy, is because people in the Western world cared enough about it that they had to lie and defend what took place. And then more information came out that directly contradicted the lie in such an obvious fashion that people had to at least maintain their objective neutrality in the situation to go, this is completely unacceptable. They do not care if people know they kill medics. And the reason why I know they do not care is because they have killed medics. This is not the first time they've done so. They've killed hundreds of UN workers. They've killed hundreds of healthcare workers. They've killed almost 100 journalists. And the only time the Western world actually pays attention to it is the only time where they even care to develop some counter narrative, which is a lie. Every single time it's a lie. But that's the reason why they're so careless. That's the reason why they can be so careless, because what happened since this took place? Nothing. It's the same reason why everyone in the media has hyper-focused on Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is far from the only person who was falsely sent over to CCOT. But he is the one where the government, Kismet, I guess, openly admitted that mistake. It was illegal for the government to deport him to CCOT, to El Salvador. And the government accidentally revealed that they had made a mistake. And that's the reason why it became a conversation. But I always maintain the position that there's 70% of the people that have been sent to CCOT so far are that have no crimes whatsoever.
Able crime.
Days before the attack, Israel had broken the ceasefire in Gaza with intense airstrikes after negotiations with Hamas to release hostages broke down.
Please don't use the term R-worded. That was very off-putting. Should I just say the actual word when I'm reading it? Like, what do you want me to do? Just say the actual word when I'm reading it? Because it's on screen, you see it. No, it doesn't help. Wait, what do you mean? No, it doesn't help. It's derogatory. I'm confused. Hella people use the word. I, at least, in a way to be accessible, don't say the word even when I'm fucking reading it. I'm confused as to what you want from me. To actually say it out loud instead of saying R-worded. Account created 2015-07, following since 2 days ago. You didn't need to use it? What? Dude, what are you saying? When I'm reading something that has the full word in it, I say R-worded rather than reading out the full word. This is me being accommodating. So what is your suggestion? You weren't reading anything? What? You were reading a direct message. Some people say R slur, but it's the same as a white person adding the N word and saying N word. Yeah. Well, No. They're literally saying don't even say R worded. Like he's saying when you see someone use the term. Notice how this becomes difficult to broach in terms of subject matter, because like I'm trying to be accommodating right now and it kind of like destroys the conversation. You weren't reading anything when you used it 5 minutes back. Do you think I said the full R word 5 minutes ago? Or are you saying What? They're saying you're lying about reading it. They can't just admit they're wrong. Don't even allude to it. I wonder what this, yeah, I read it off from a tweet, but I didn't actually say the word. I just said R-worded. I don't think it's a good term to use. I am neurodivergent. We know. Also, welcome. This community is filled to the brim. But I don't even fully understand what your demands are in terms of me. Like, should I not substitute the actual full R word with R worded? It's difficult for me to broach the conversation with you, but like, should I just, when someone writes the R word, when someone spells out the R word, okay, I'm going to play around with this. I'm going to play around with my woke of the day. I think we're going to address this and we're going to come to a conclusion. Should I just make up a new word? Okay. Going forward, what the fuck? For one person, you are asking a huge changing question. Yeah, I'm not going to follow what he's saying. I don't give a shit. Like, what do you mean? I just wanted to see where this chatter would go to. Like, what this chatter would actually say. I wanted to see where he was going to go. Anyway, I don't know, man.
Ground forces had moved into Rafah, and on the night in question, the IDF says it set up.
I think they're saying when you say R-worded on your own volition, not reading someone else say, it kind of defeats the point of censoring it. Yeah, I mean, if I were to call someone, if I were to turn around and be like, you are R-worded, then that would kind of defeat the purpose. But there's I use other ableist terms as a substitute anyway, even though, we try to be as accommodating as possible, but it's not going to be a full tilt. It's virtually impossible for me to be completely accommodating. And I'm not going to be anyway, Anyway, let's continue.
Up an ambush on this road ahead of an evacuation order to flush out suspected militants when people moved. Red Crescent crews were working overnight to rescue casualties from a nearby airstrike. But when one crew goes missing, others, including Assad and Rafat, are sent out to find them. In the darkness, they initially don't see the missing ambulance. It had been passing by here just an hour earlier, when the Israeli unit opened fire on it. They killed the two medics sitting in the front, Ezzedine Shah and Mustafa Kafaja, and detained a third medic, Munther Abed, who survived. He told us what happened.
وفي الطريق فجأة تم إطلاق النار علينا بشكل مباشر. عاد أنا كنت في الكابينة في الخلف.
Munther told us he was stripped and beaten. The IDF said it thought the ambulance was a Hamas vehicle and has long contended that Hamas uses ambulances to transport weapons and fighters. Back on the road, Rafat and Assad pass the Israeli soldiers without incident and meet up with other medics who are also out searching.
Chatters, I was quite literally reading logs from DGG. That was the context. Can you please stop complaining? I don't care. Okay? I think the reason why you are saying this is so that I actually fucking spell it out so you can get a clip and be like, Hasan is being ableist. I don't even care to be accommodating to that degree. If you're being annoying, I will say the fucking slur if you want me to say it, okay? God damn, dude. Leftists are so fucking annoying. Unbelievable. Unfucking believable, dude. In the process of watching New York Times' fucking coverage over how Israeli soldiers killed 15 rescue workers in Gaza, their visual investigation team that poured countless hours into like an actual thing that took place, a literal war crime. There's a bunch of baby chatters in here being like, well, I think like if you say R-worded instead of spelling out the full fucking word, well, you might as well be using it as a substitute. Like, okay, I am. Clip it then. I am using it deliberately as a substitute. Stop. God damn, dude. Sometimes it gets a little too fucking hard to deal with the neurodivergence in this fucking community, okay? This is one of those moments. Lock in. You're not an activist. You're a narcissist.
Saleh Muammar, who's driving the other ambulance, says he spotted bodies on the ground. They ready the ambulances to return. But Saleh worries they will be attacked if they move ahead without more vehicles.
Wow, he said Yahud as in Jews. Wow, anti-Semitism. Or perhaps what I've talked about already. The conflation that Israel has made has set. Wow. Well, these guys must be anti-Semitic. Maybe that's why they killed him. This is how. Yeah, that's the reason why the New York Times translates Yahud. Yehudi means Jews, Jewish in both Turkish, and Yahud means a Jew in Arabic. Okay? This is an interchangeable term in that part of the world. And the reason for why it's an interchangeable term in that part of the world is not because they're fucking anti-Semitic. It's because Israel has shown that part of the world that this is for Judaism. We are the Jewish nation state, is what Israel says. So remember that. Maybe Ethan will advocate for these guys to get fucking... Well, they already got killed. I was going to say maybe he'll advocate for them to be killed, but they got killed already. Maybe he'll defend that.
A civil defense ambulance and fire engine joined them. And they continue on as a convoy. Overhead, an Israeli drone is watching them. The IDF later said that a drone operator told soldiers on the ground the convoy was advancing suspiciously, but they're clearly marked as emergency services. And the vehicles are flashing their lights, which soldiers could see, the IDF later told us. The medics pull in. Around 20 IDF soldiers are positioned here, 100 feet off the roadside. Almost all of the first responders are clearly marked in reflective gear. They are unarmed and moving away from the IDF. Rafat sees his colleagues' bodies. As they rush to rescue them, they're met by a hail of gunfire. Side, and is shielded, for now, by the ambulance. He begins to pray. In total, Rafat films almost 6 minutes of gunfire. We produced a condensed timeline that gives an insight into the IDF's actions. Minute 1. After the first barrage comes a 20-second pause. Rafat repeats the Shahada, a declaration of faith that Muslims also say as they face death. An ambulance tries to escape, but another hail of gunfire erupts. Minute 2. We hear continuous, single shots. Then, automatic fire. Minute 3. Another pause. First responders can be heard screaming. Then another barrage from multiple rifles. None of these medics are armed and all of the fire is coming from the IDF. Minute 4. A long pause. Rafat asks his mother's forgiveness. Minute 5. Steady gunfire. Closer to Rafat now for the full minute. An ambulance is shot at. Medics were still inside some of the vehicles. One of them, Ashraf Abu Lebda, phones a Red Crescent dispatcher who records the call. We synchronized Ashraf's call with Rafat's video to better understand what they both were seeing. Minute 6, Israeli soldiers appear to approach, shouting in Hebrew, but it's unclear what they're saying. Both Ashraf and Rafat see them around the same time. Minute 7 from Ashraf's phone call. Slow, deliberate shots are heard now.
This is where the suspicion is that they started executing them. Yeah. This is why I felt kind of gross yesterday after all was said and done, because it felt like the seriousness of the things that I wanted to discuss kept constantly getting derailed into idiotic nonsense. I do despise people that only talk about this from the framework of drama or try to say idiotic shit like, just because you criticize a genocide, which we also think is a genocide, doesn't mean you're infallible. I never said I am. The only time half of these people actually recognize that it's a genocide is so that they can use it as a talking point. It's disgusting. It's fucking pathetic. Yeah, also, Israeli settlers set Palestinian agricultural land in the West Bank on fire, apparently, and according to Haaretz reporting, and that's what caused the wildfires is the suspicion. Even though Western Hasbara immediately was like, oh, Palestinians and Hamas in the West Bank are actually causing wildfires. That's why Israel's on fire. To the person who was like watching from the outside, they see me make a passionate plea and they go, oh, he's lost control over this conversation. It's because I'm thinking about this in the back of my mind the entire time. Anyway, I know it's hard to watch, but we're going to finish this.
An Israeli soldier orders his troops. Ashraf hangs up. Amid the emergency vehicles, Rafat's phone is positioned here. 3 audio experts who analysed his recording determined that the soldiers begin shooting up to 150 feet away. This aligns with where witnesses saw the IDF positioned and where it built sand barricades. As the shooting continues, the gunfire closes in to within 60, 50 and then 40 feet of Rafat by minute 6 of the attack. Drone footage the IDF showed the Times confirms that the soldiers moved in. Rafat was still alive at this time. He was shot multiple times, his autopsy showed. And inside this ambulance, Ashraf was also alive. He was shot in the chest. A witness with a clear view of what happened is Saeed al-Bardawil, a civilian who was detained and held with the IDF troops before the attack on the convoy. Saeed says that IDF reinforcements later came, and then soldiers shot first responders as they lay on the ground.
Brianna Wu tweeted that she personally saw a Palestinian child deliberately starting a fire. Yeah, well, I saw from firsthand testimony that in Jerusalem, Brianna Wu actually opened up her jaw. You're on Fox News, baby girl? I don't care. Yeah, that shit don't mean nothing, dude. Let me guess. It's another smear operation. Let me guess. Like on the main channel or where? Or is it on the digital side? Because I don't see it. I don't see it on my like on the actual live channel. Wait, really? What are they doing? Oh shit.